I have been very passionate about learning foreign languages ever since I crossed my 20s. I started learning Spanish, now I'm learning French, and I recently realized that learning a little bit requires learning a lot. What does that mean? After learning Spanish, I started to get some interest in learning French, and I would listen to French songs then, and I would come across some words. Now, I wouldn't understand what those words really meant because I didn't know the basics of French itself. All the French that I've learned so far, I have learned by listening to YouTube videos, watching YouTube videos, listening to podcasts in French, reading blogs, reading books, etc. And when you don't know the language itself, you sometimes don't understand the rules of its grammar. So when you look at a word in isolation, you may not understand what that word really means. And the reason you won't understand what that word really means is you don't have knowledge of the rules of grammar in the whole context. So just knowing that one little word and why it appears over there is precisely why you need to study the language right from scratch. Now, understanding one little word took the understanding of a lot more than just that word. Similarly, I believe there are other things in life that we want to understand, but we won't understand that if we don't see the bigger picture. Now, what is that? What does that mean practically? If you see someone behaving in a certain manner, it's very easy to pass judgments on that particular behavior and label it. But since you are not aware of the environmental conditions that created such a behavior, your judgment of that person is always going to be inaccurate. I will give you a concrete example. A lot of people, for example, curse the poor for indulging in substance abuse. Now, at the surface level, it may seem to be a very stupid idea to indulge in substance abuse when your condition is so horrible. You would expect this person to get a job, clean his act up, try and be responsible. But the pain of being in that situation is so horrible, and when you feel so horrible, you really don't want to look at yourself. And the best way of not ever looking at yourself and your own condition is indulging in something that makes you forget the pain, or something that serves as not necessarily an antidote, but that injection you take to numb the pain. I forget what the term for that is. A tranquilizer. Yeah. So when you are in pain, the easiest way to escape is pleasure, right? So when you look at that isolated incident of the homeless person abusing certain substances to forget his pain, it's easy to pass the judgment and say this is a very irresponsible person, he or she is a crackhead and whatnot. But since you've not been in that position, possibly you're not privy to the emotions this person feels, you're not privy to the shame and self-hatred this person is experiencing, which is leading to him or her abusing substances and then trying to escape his or her situation. So similarly, if you look at any thing that you deem to be a problem in your life, before trying to solve directly for it, try and find out the different factors that have created that problem in the first place instead of going right into the problem and tackling it. Because whatever is happening in your life very rarely happens in isolation, and a combination of a lot of things going on in your life contribute to something or the other. A heart attack, for example, is the accumulation of stress that accumulates over months and sometimes over years, which is often a result of a bad diet, a toxic relation, and whatnot. So, when you see certain events taking place in life, before trying to interpret them and before trying to put a label on it, try and understand the surrounding environments that created it, because that is the only thing that gives you the bigger picture. So I started with the example of not understanding a word in a language because I don't understand the language as such. Similarly, when you come across certain incidents in your life, before rushing to conclusions, try and understand what created those situations, and that will help you zoom out and feel more at ease We're dealing with the situation rather than being very emotional or reactive.